From somewhere in Ohio, it's Sports Rock Show, motherfuckers.
Barack!
To my left is James.
Good to be here. Glad to talk to you all. Happy holidays, too.
Happy holidays. Across from me, Doug.
I want to say, first off, happy 70th birthday to the Riff Master, Keith Richards.
Absolutely.
Gold rings on y'all.
And 30th wedding anniversary.
Absolutely.
That's,
30 years.
That's rare.
Yeah, Mick can't say that.
No. Can Mick say 30 days?
But he's going to be a great-great-grandpa.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. And you've been spreading your seed for the last 50 years. That's what happens, I guess.
Yeah.
And I, of course, am your host, Chris. And right now, we are going to dive right into bowl games. It's the most wonderful time of the year.
It's the most wonderful time of the year.
There'll be tailgaters hosting, kielbasis for roasting.
Run,
out
Rudolph.
in the snow. There'll be Hail Mary stories and tales of the glories of bowl games from long, long ago. Truly is the most wonderful time.
It is.
Has nothing to do with a fat man in a red suit.
Nope. It's all football. Pigskin!
Football and Jesus. Thank you, Jesus, for bringing us football.
Yeah, Notre Dame.
Thank
Touchdown.
you, Jesus. Thank you, Lord.
That's right. All right, so first, we're going to talk about...
I ran 20 red lights in his arm.
The Russell Athletic Bowl on Saturday, December 28th. Miami versus Louisville. This is a game of note because it's the Bridgewater Bowl. Teddy Bridgewater will be playing. Chance for the world to see him in prime time. Could potentially be Cleveland's quarterback next year. Who knows? We'll see.
He's going to be somebody's quarterback.
He's going to be somebody's quarterback. That's right. Rustlings in the Bridgewater camp say he will come out. I heard Bernie Kosar is good friends with his family. And Kosar says, you bet he's coming. So.
Well, I think they've had some hardships.
Yeah.
His mom had cancer, I believe, or whatever, and I think she may be in remission, which is cool, but a fat contract doesn't hurt.
Not one bit. So, Doug, what do you think? What's your call on this game? Miami, Louisville.
I think it should be an entertaining game. I'll take Louisville. I think they'll rise to the occasion. Miami is so-so. Louisville rose to the occasion last year in the Orange Bowl against the University of Florida, and Teddy had a big game then. I'll take Louisville.
Miami also has Stephen Morris. He's a senior.
He needs to have a good game.
And he's going to be probably on somebody's team next year, somebody's NFL team next year.
He'll be at the Senior Bowl.
Yep. So I will say this. Miami is not a team that Louisville is incapable of beating by any stretch of the imagination. Miami had a great start to the year. They were undefeated for, 8 games, 9 games, something like that?
They were until they lost to Clemson.
Yeah. Was it Clemson or FSU?
I believe it was Clemson.
Okay. Since then, the wheels kind of fell off. They lost, 3 or 4 games this year or something like that?
Yeah.
But Louisville, they're going to rely on Teddy. And if Teddy really is worthy of being a number 1 overall draft pick or the first or second or third quarterback off the board, he needs to lead Louisville to a win over Miami. This is a team they can beat. It's not like they're matched up against Alabama or anything like that. And I guess it's time to put up or kind of shut up for Teddy. I think if he goes out and flops, it's going to hurt his draft stock.
You picking Louisville to win?
I am picking Louisville to win because I don't think he's going to flop. I think he's going to rise to the occasion and show the world why he may be, if not the best, one of the best quarterbacks in this draft class. So I'm going Louisville as well.
I've seen some Louisville games this year, and I'm not saying Teddy Bridgewater isn't a talented player because he is. I think I quite honestly think they're going to be outmanned. I think Miami will take them down.
Okay. Next game is going to be The Buffalo Wild Wings Bowl, also Saturday, December 28th. And this is Michigan against Kansas State. We'll let our Michigan fan here pick this one first. Doug.
Well, I think it's a good matchup for Michigan. Kansas State's a solid team. I would probably put them in if they played in the Big Ten, let's put them around the third or fourth best team in the Big Ten.
I would put them above Michigan, then, wouldn't
In theory, yes, it would. And Michigan may come out, it's possible Michigan may play their freshman quarterback, Shane Morris, a fair amount in this game, which I don't have a problem with. Well, I'm going to go with Michigan.
Okay.
I'm going to say the Big Ten, even the fifth best team in the Big Ten is better than the third best team in the Big 12.
James?
I think Michigan has something to prove,
Absolutely.
and I think they're going to definitely be up against some stiff competition. And quite honestly, I'm a Big Ten man, and we need the Big Ten to start stepping up. And
If
playing.
Michigan can go toe-to-toe with the third-ranked team in the United States,
Yes,
Ohio State, then they should be.
yes, I agree with that.
They should be able to play with
True.
Kansas State.
And I think, quite honestly, it's like they come firing all cylinders and realize how important this game is for them, and it is. It's huge. I think Michigan will win this game because they need to step up.
I will say this. Should Michigan win this game? Yes. I would argue that Brady Hoke may not necessarily be coaching for his job because I agree with Doug with the previous conversation we've had here on Sprague. I don't think I think he's on the hot seat. I don't think he's in jeopardy of losing his job. I think he should be, but I don't think he is. But I tell you right now, if Michigan loses to Kansas State, life is about to be really miserable for Brady Hoke because he's going to constantly be hounded by that. So I think that he's going to really have his guys prepared. Michigan definitely, as James said, has something to prove. They've got something to play for. And I think this freshman quarterback that Doug informs us about could potentially be a much better option at quarterback than Gardner because Gardner he's an athlete, not a quarterback, much like I would say Braxton Miller. So I think if this kid is capable of passing the ball, I think Michigan should beat Kansas State, and I think they will. So I think that's a sweep. I think that's Michigan across the board. Next game will be played Monday,
Don't
December
let us down, Blue.
30th. Well, I don't know about all that, but
I want every Big Ten team.
if I'm going to get proven wrong, this one I'd be okay with getting proven wrong on.
I want all the Big Ten
I
teams
agree.
to win.
The
They
Big
need
Ten,
to be
the Big
back
Ten,
to be relevant
the Big Ten
again.
does need to win.
They need to be relevant.
They do need to be relevant again, and honestly, Michigan getting better and being a top team in the country only helps A, the Big Ten, and B, in the long run, Ohio State.
Absolutely.
Because
Absolutely.
if your conference is perceived as being a tough conference, then when you win in that conference, you're perceived as being a good team.
Absolutely.
So
Somehow the Big Ten has to turn into the Northern SEC.
it does.
Yes,
Yep.
I agree totally. Everyone that represents the Big Ten in the bowl games, they need to put a great showing out.
Yeah.
A great
And the
showing.
Big Ten definitely has the opportunity. Michigan, once again, is going to have a top draft class, or recruiting class. So is Ohio State. Penn State manages to get top recruits in there, even though they're looking at bowl
They're
games. They still
sanctions,
manage
man.
to get players in there.
Sure.
Nebraska's going to get their guys. I mean, the talent is going to be there. They've just got to do something with it. So I don't think all is lost for the Big Ten. I think they're a little down right now. So hopefully
They've been down.
stem the tide.
Yeah, not just the last.
It's been a couple years. It's been a little
It
while.
has been a little while.
Moving on to Oregon and Texas in the Alamo Bowl on December 30th. James, what are you thinking about this?
Oregon, Texas. Well, I'll tell you what, right now, facing the Oregon Ducks, that's a tough task for anybody because they're nothing but high-flying offense.
They are? This is going to be Mac Brown's last game
That's what I was getting ready
as
to bring
head
up.
coach of the
That
Texas
is going
Longhorns.
to be a inspirational fight for the coach type of game.
Yeah.
But I'm going to tell you something right now. Oregon has way too much firepower for Texas.
So you're going with Oregon.
Yes.
I can tell you this. If you play for the Texas Longhorns and you're not motivated to go out and play your absolute best on December 30th, then there's nothing that's going to motivate you, because I believe Mac Brown commands a lot of respect from his players, and I believe they're going to want to play hard for Coach and go out on top. So I think that's a big advantage for Oregon, or for Texas. However, Oregon does put up points in droves. Mariota was considered to be a top quarterback coming in this year. He has not lived up to that. He's thrown some stinkers out there. I give the edge to Texas. Doug?
I think Texas will play hard for the first quarter, and then Oregon will blow them away.
That's kind of my philosophy.
All right. Moving on to Nebraska and Georgia. They will play on January 1st in the Gator Bowl. Doug, back to you.
Well, Georgia's going to be playing without Aaron Murray.
Yes,
If Aaron Murray plays, that game's a no-brainer.
I agree.
However, without him, I think Nebraska makes it a pretty good football game. But I cannot take them over Georgia in SEC team.
James?
As much as I want to root for the Big Ten, because we have to get relevance back here in the Big Ten. But in that game there, I think Georgia's the better team. I really do. I think they're the better team. Even minus, if he doesn't play one of their best players, I still think Georgia's the better team.
Georgia's obviously got a lot of speed. They've got a lot of talent.
Gurley should be back, I think.
Yep. I was just going to say they've got a running back in Gurley that
Nebraska has a great running back in Abdullah.
they've got. Raheem Abdullah, I believe is his name.
Amir.
Is it Amir?
Amir.
Who was Raheem? He played for the Browns, didn't he?
If he
Linebacker.
ever played.
Yeah.
Another probably bogus pick by the Browns.
Amir Abdullah, and that's going to be good to watch because the Browns are in need of a running back. So you're going to see Gurley and Abdullah, which is going to be interesting to see. Gurley is junior,
He's a sophomore.
sophomore, junior. Wonder if he's
Abdullah's only a
eligible.
junior. But I think I'm hoping Abdullah would be, to me, a great running back for the Cleveland Browns.
I agree. But is Gurley draft eligible? Is what I'm saying. Is he eligible?
I think he might be, but I think he's coming back.
Well, he missed a lot of this year. Didn't
Right.
he? So, I agree. I'm going to have to go Georgia as much as I'm going to be hoping that Nebraska pulls it off. I don't see it happening. The next game, another Big Ten SEC challenge, Wisconsin and South Carolina. And this is going to be in the Capital One Bowl on January 1st. Doug, what do you think about this game?
I think that Wisconsin may be a team that takes South Carolina down. I think Wisconsin, with their running game and with Aberderis outside, their quarterback is okay, doesn't make a lot of mistakes. I'm going to give the Big Ten this one.
All right. James?
Well, every year, Buckeyes play in the Big Ten, every year Wisconsin's there, and I think it's going to be no different here. I think this will be a really good ball game, actually. South Carolina and Gamecocks, man, they bring it, but I'm going to go with Wisconsin. They're going to be ready to play, and I think they're going to get
I'll
it
be
done.
curious to see how Clowney shows up.
Yeah.
Sad thing is, from what I've heard throughout, it's like he's pretty much already nailed the season.
Oh,
So
absolutely, he has.
I
Absolutely,
like Wisconsin in this game, though. I really do.
Last year, Wisconsin played, I believe, Stanford in the Rose Bowl. Am I correct in saying that?
Yes.
absolutely nobody, including the three of us sitting here, gave Wisconsin the time of day against Stanford. They thought that they were just going to get rolled over. Well, they only lost by, a field goal, something like that? I think it was less than a touchdown, and they were in it until the end. They almost beat Stanford, okay? I don't think South Carolina has as good a team as Stanford had last year or this year. Wisconsin is returning a lot of their team. They do give Ohio State fits, and I think they can beat South Carolina as well. The wild card in this game, though, I think, is Steve Spurrier. Always got his Gamecocks ready to fly.
Well, he's a
So,
fantastic coach.
The old ball coach.
The old ball coach,
Yeah, he's a fantastic
but I
coach.
think we got another sweep. I think we're going Wisconsin here as well. So, moving on to Iowa LSU in the Outback Bowl on January 1st. LSU having a bit of a down season. I believe they've lost 2 or 3 games, not in LSU style. Iowa is one of the top teams in the Big Ten, but not very strong. So what do you think, James?
Well, I would love to say Iowa was going to win this game,
Mhm.
but even LSU having a down year.
Now, we do have to remember LSU's quarterback is out.
Mettenberger is out with a knee injury.
And he is. But that's a toss-up game. It's almost like flipping a freaking coin and deciding who's going to win that one.
Okay. So, where are you coming down at?
I'm going to go with the Hawkeyes.
Okay.
I'm going to go Big Ten on this one. I think it should be a real interesting ball game, quite honestly.
Doug?
LSU.
That didn't take much thought, now did it?
I even without if Mettenberger was there, they'd win big.
Okay.
I think they'll still win by at least 10 points.
It's tough for me to take Iowa.
I think LSU will be too fast
Yeah,
and too much.
I just don't see Iowa winning this game. I would love for them to win this game. But I have to agree. I have to go LSU as well. So, Stanford, Michigan State, Rose Bowl. Wednesday, January 1st. Doug.
This is one of the best bowl games.
Could be the best when it's all said and done.
I'm going to pick Stanford. For the sole fact, one is history shows you the Big Ten team go into the Rose Bowl, they lose.
Mm-hmm.
For one. Michigan State's a solid team. Defensive ball game. Stanford is solid defensively, so is Michigan State.
Mm-hmm.
Matter of fact, these teams mirror each other very well.
Yeah.
I mean, they're both physical football teams, not flashy by any stretch. But I like Stanford.
Okay. James?
Well, actually, what Doug says is absolute truth. It's like having the same teams on the field playing with each other. It's like practice squad. My offense is going against her defense. Her defense is going against my offense. But in this game here, Michigan State, I think, really has something to prove. Not that Stanford doesn't, but I think Michigan State really has something to prove. It's like we didn't just beat the Ohio State University, which was ranked number 2 at the time, but we were better than them. And I think they're going to come out there with that chip on their shoulder, and I think they're going to play up to that capability. I think they win.
Okay. I actually agree with James. I think Michigan State was underrated. When Ohio State played them, I think they were deserving at the time of a higher ranking than 10. That defense is nasty, even though Ohio State just was not prepared to play that game. I think you got to give a lot of credit to Michigan State for going out and getting it done and beating Ohio State. So I agree. I think it's going to be close. I think it's going to be a very good game, but I give the edge to Michigan State.
Sparty.
Yeah, I've had enough of that shit.
Yeah.
But anyways. Moving on to the Fiesta Bowl, also Wednesday, January 1st. This will be the Bortles Bowl. University of Central Florida versus Baylor. Doug.
Should be a highly entertaining game. Could be some points scored. Baylor likes to roll up the numbers. They don't play very well defensively. Central Florida, offensively, I think will score against Baylor. But will they outscore Baylor? I don't think so. I'll take Baylor
Okay.
in a high-scoring game. I think Bortles will show himself well, but Bryce Petty may also show himself well
Right.
for Baylor.
He's tough.
This is tough because I look at this game a lot like I do the Louisville-Miami game. I think if Blake Bortles feels like he's a top-tier quarterback, he needs to lead his team in there and win. However, I think Baylor is less beatable for UCF than Miami is for Louisville. I think Baylor's a much better team than UCF is. But I mean, this is a guy who's going to be quarterbacking on Sundays next year. So I'm going to give UCF the advantage.
Long live Blake Bortles.
James?
I'm going to go out on the line and say this. I don't think it's going to be a high-scoring game as everyone thinks it's going to be because it should be. And that's usually the way it rolls. A game that should be a high-scoring game, a lot of times, doesn't turn out to be that way. I think UCF will beat them. And I think it's going to be a lower-scoring game than people might expect. Because I think there's going to be things that happen in that ball game. And I think Central Florida, man, they're coming in there with an attitude also. That, like, we belong here. We deserve to be here. I think we're going to prove it.
Moving on to Oklahoma, Alabama,
Ooh.
Thursday, January 2nd in the Sugar Bowl. James.
Well, I can tell you something right now. Mr. McCarron's not going to go out with a loss the last game of his season. One loss took him out of a chance to win another championship game. So I think Alabama not only will win, I think they'll roll. I don't think Oklahoma's all that good anyway.
I can tell you this might be one of the more lopsided games, especially the big bowl games. I think this is a joke of a matchup.
Absolutely. I agree
I
totally.
think a lot like Alabama blew Notre Dame off the field in the championship game last year. They're going to blow Oklahoma off the field. Alabama, I believe, is still the best team in college football. Like we've discussed off air many times, if Alabama plays Auburn 9 more times, I think they beat them all 9 times, at least 8 out of 9. I think it was a fluke that Auburn beat them. I think Alabama.
It was a fluke.
I think Alabama. I mean, I know Auburn beat them, so Auburn goes. I get that. I agree with that, but the best team in college football is not playing for a championship this year. And I think that's sad.
I agree with that.
Doug?
I got 2 words for you. Roll Tide.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And they will roll.
And
Not that I'm rooting for them, because I'm
And
not.
a caveat to that. The next game you're going to say is the Orange Bowl, which is Clemson versus Ohio State.
Yes.
It should have been Oklahoma versus Clemson. Alabama should be playing Ohio State.
I think that would have been, not that Ohio State would have beaten them. Actually, Ohio State would probably get their ass kicked. But that probably would have been the better.
Ohio State
I think
thinks
they're
they're
the better
worthy
game.
of top consideration.
Yeah, and they should.
Yeah.
That should have been.
And
the game.
Alabama obviously thinks they are worthy of top consideration.
Yep.
Yeah.
I agree.
That would have been the bowl game that would have excited
It would have.
more people
It would have.
looking at it and saying, okay, Auburn, Florida State, that's the national championship game. That's the big game. But the next big game is Alabama, Ohio State.
Right.
I agree totally. I couldn't agree more with
I
that.
agree.
I couldn't agree more with that. And I don't understand why they didn't have that matchup. They could have had that matchup. They could have done it. And I don't understand why they didn't.
So moving on. Clemson, Ohio State. this is the Orange Bowl, January 3rd. Doug?
I would expect a high-scoring game because I don't think Clemson's defense is going to slow down Ohio State a whole lot. I'm not sure Ohio State's defense is going to slow down Clemson a whole lot.
I agree with
I
that.
expect it to be a high-scoring game, but I pick Ohio State.
Okay. James?
I'm going with the same outcome, and I totally agree. Neither team has a very good defense. I think it's just a matter of who can stop who, and I think when it comes down to it, it's not really who stops who has the ball last and scores.
Could be.
Yeah.
And I think it's probably going to be Ohio State. And I'm not taking them just because I'm a diehard Buckeyes fan. I just think that Ohio State will beat them, but I can see this being a freaking up there, big time.
This game worries me as an Ohio State fan because Tosh Boyd, he's come up, snake eyes in big games before, most notably the Florida State game, but he's still a very talented quarterback.
No doubt.
He's going to play on Sundays next year, and he's throwing to a receiver in Sammy Watkins, who's going to be a first-round pick. That worries me. You're going to see what Bradley Roby is made of in this game. You're going to see if he's capable or if he should be considered a top-tier cornerback after this game. If he can at least hold Watkins, I'm not expecting him to shut him down. If he can hope to contain, I think he'll do a lot for his draft stock. But I'm worried about that, and
Absolutely.
I think this is a game that Ohio State can easily lose. But I'm never going to pick against Ohio State, so I'm going to go with the Buckeyes.
Well, I would say that any Clemson linebacker that intercepts a pass late in the game, watch out, you could get punched.
That was uncalled for.
That was uncalled for.
Lamar
Okay.
ain't punching nobody.
Hey, you never know.
Yeah, he's not punching him. He might punch one of his coaches, but he ain't punching
The
him.
Cotton,
He might punch one of his coaches.
the Cotton Bowl, Oklahoma State, Missouri, January 3rd. James.
Oklahoma State, Missouri. That's an interesting one, and that should be one hell of a ball game. Two damn good teams right there, and I think that's going to come down to it's going to come to the pits for both these teams. I'm going to go LSU. I'm going to go Oklahoma State University. Yes.
Okay. Doug?
Yeah, I think it should be a pretty good ball game. I will take the power of the SEC behind Missouri.
I will also take Missouri. Oklahoma State's got a pretty good quarterback in Clint Shelf. They've got a pretty good team. But I like Missouri. Missouri hung with Alabama or Auburn up until the end. It got kind of ugly towards the end. But I think Missouri is going to beat Oklahoma State. So, the BCS championship game, Auburn, Florida State, Monday, January 6th. I will go first because I don't need to think about this one. I think Auburn is going to beat them, and I think they're going to beat them by at least 2 touchdowns. I think Florida State's in over their head. They have not seen anything like Auburn this year. I think Florida State, like we've talked about on this show before, their schedule was not much stronger than Ohio State's.
No, not.
And
not
I think
really.
this is going to be a rude awakening. Doug?
Well, should Auburn win, they would show, once again, SEC dominance. However, Florida State is built very similar to SEC teams. And they've got Jameis Winston.
They do.
I take Florida State.
James?
I'm going Florida State.
Okay. That'll do it for the Bowl Pick'em segment of the Sports Rock Show.
Star Rock.
Join us after the break.